Love conquers all things. Let us yield to love. It would be perfectly reasonable to misattribute this quote to a famous early church father or a book from the Bible. Instead, it is from the great Roman poet Virgil. Anyone familiar with Dante's Divine Comedy will remember that Virgil is a prominent character serving as Dante's guide through hell and purgatory. St. Augustine, while critical of aspects of Virgil's mythopoetic political theology, held him in great esteem and went as far as calling him the best and most renowned of all the poets. And many writers and scholars have long noted a great debt of Augustine's Confessions, which is owed to Virgil's Aeneid. Furthermore, T.S. Eliot considered Virgil the greatest poet of the Western tradition, and called the Aeneid, in particular, our classic. Why was Virgil so important to generations in the past, and why does he remain an indispensable figure for our adrift lives today? In De Doctrina Christiana, Augustine provided a lengthy commentary on the relationship between things and signs. The beauty of things in the world, Augustine wrote, is ultimately and properly a sign of the beauty and truth that emanates from the uniquely beautiful and truthful thing, God himself, who is beauty, truth, and love. In the Confessions, and in his rebukes to the Manichaeans on Genesis, Augustine also remarked that all of material creation has some level of beauty to it, since it subsists in God's loving wisdom and beauty. One of the most common Virgilian themes that run replete throughout his works is love, and how love is the most powerful force in the world. It has the power to induce joy as well as suffering, the suffering and agony born from love, serving as a testament to its power. The power of love is all-consuming and all-desiring, and Virgil's advice is to give oneself over to the desire and power of love. And many later Christians later recognized the basic truth to Virgil's thoughts of yielding to that love of desire. In the Eclogues, Gallus is a dying, lovesick man who yearns to be consumed and healed by love, a love which he himself knows well, but could not consummate in life. In the serenity of his countryside estate, the Elysian or Arcadian ideal, if there ever was one, he utters those most immortal words from Virgil: Omnia vincit amor, love conquers all. Of course, Gallus says this somewhat tragically in the context of the poem. As we know, he loved Lycoris and devoted himself to her. She, however, didn't reciprocate that love and eventually abandoned him. Thus, Gallus wallows alone in isolation and grows mad with his memories of a love scorned and his continuous desire to be loved. Even the gods were unable to cure him from his spell of love, signifying how love stands even above the pagan deities in Virgil's majestic hand. The failure of the gods to break the spell of love reveals Virgil's insight that love is the greatest and grandest thing in the cosmos. It transcends everything in the material world. In suffering or in joy, we cannot escape the consuming power of the fire of love itself. If only Lycoris had yielded to the love that Gallus showed her, the two would have been together in tender intimacy until their dying breaths. This, it seems, is what Virgil is subtly promoting in the poem, that love conquering all requires two subject creatures, two souls, two faces, two hearts, to yield to that mutual love wherein desire gives birth to compassion and tenderness in one another's arms. According to Christianity, God is a burning and devouring flame of love that desires all humans to experience love, beauty, and happiness. And being made in the image of God, the imago Dei, means all humans also exude that flame of desire to be in union with the love, beauty, truth, and happiness that is divine. As St. John Paul II wrote, expressing that same idea, all persons, all souls are called to greatness, and that their souls ought to desire and come into union with the love that governs all things. When the early Christians, especially the Church Fathers, encountered pagan philosophy and poetry, they were moved by the beauty and the signs of truth that they saw in them. Later, and even more recent Christians like C.S. Lewis noted that if Christians truly believe in a living God who is the creator of the cosmos, then why is it not possible that this God designed signs of truth and beauty and gave them to the pagans in preparation for the eventual incarnation of Christ, love itself, made flesh and blood? That idea that all things beautiful and truthful, no matter their gradation away from the fullness of truth, are really signs pointing and belonging to God, has been one of the pillars of Western thought, Christianity in particular. Since Christianity proclaims, through the doctrine of the imago Dei, that all persons are made in love, for love, love as that intentional union of soul and object, of material and transcendent, becomes the very imperative of all life. Harmonia, harmony, that union between body and soul, matter and object, soul and our material substance, requires two partners to be brought in union together. And this is especially true when reading the love poetry of antiquity. Solitude, by definition, cannot be harmonious. Anyone who reads the poetry of Catullus recognizes this. And so, too, did everyone reading the poetry of Virgil realize this. Like Gallus, then, we are wrought with the suffering that comes from loneliness without love, having tasted the nectar of love that makes life so sweet and calls us home. Tragic indeed if we don't have that love that brings us into harmony with another. But within that tragedy, of course, in that loneliness, in that suffering, are the seeds of truth. In contrast to the solitude and loneliness, Augustine wrote that the divine nature of friendship and love is, of course, friendship. The love of friendship is a humanization of the Trinity. It is a form of participatio Trinitatis, a participation in the Trinity. Just as the Trinity, Augustine goes on to say, is the relations of love, so too is friendship between humans, a relationship governed by love. In fact, Augustine credits Cicero and Virgil as having revealed this truth of the Trinity to him. The highest expression of this participation in love is love consummated with another human being. In reading Virgil, along with the other classical authors, like Cicero, Augustine saw the traces of this truth in the yearning cries for friendship and love, a participation with others that mirrors the divine nature of the Trinity itself. Friendship and marriage entails images of God being wrought together in love as an expression of imitatio Dei, the imitation of God, which is the imitation of love, because God is love, and love is God. When two or more images of divine love are united together in harmony, the participation of love which occurs becomes a mirror of the love of things divine. And there is nothing more beautiful than the union of an image of God with the image creator. Augustine poetically summarized this reality as such: when we see love, we see the Trinity. This returns us to the great sage and poet who became a guide and father figure to Dante in hell and purgatory. Virgil is right that love is a real and powerful force in the cosmos. He is right that it is a beautiful and desirable thing for people to seek union with one another in love. He is right that love is rational as well as instinctive. He is right that we should yield to love, and that love should conquer all things, including ourselves. And much courage it takes to submit oneself to that conquering power of love. Augustine may have wept for Dido because he was originally trapped in carnal love and beauty, but even carnal love and beauty are signs of the true love and beauty of God when properly understood and ordered, thereby directing one toward the upward union with the supreme beauty as they sing songs of ascent. That became the later revelation of Augustine. This is what the Church Fathers, Augustine most preeminently, understood when they read the poetry of Virgil. There was tremendous love and beauty in the writings and themes of the greatest of the Roman poets. One cannot help but be moved to tears when reading Virgil, just as Augustine was, and perhaps even more so in Latin, where the lyrical grace of Virgil can be fully heard. For love itself is something that expresses songs of praise, for love is a musical. Love is poetry. Where Virgil went wrong, however, was to associate desire with just other humans, locating the hope of desiring fulfillment in another rather than in the source of transcendent love that makes humans beautiful. Virgil's humanism, however, is but a shadow to the humanism offered in Christian theological anthropology. This the Church Fathers, and Augustine most notably, were always careful to tease out, even when they were praising Virgil, even when Dante praises Virgil. Christianity's vision of love offers an even greater humanism than what Virgil can give us. For in the image of God in us, humans are made even more beautiful than they actually are. And this is why, in Dante, Virgil eventually gives way to Beatrice, and then Beatrice attends and points to the beauty of God. Nevertheless, Virgil's themes ring true to us, pointing to the truth, love, and beauty that is in the cosmos, and that is in God, and that is in all of us. That is what Augustine understood when reading Virgil, and that is why Virgil was quoted even more than Plato in the writings of Augustine. It is often said that Augustine baptized Plato, but if we were to take Augustine's constant citations of Virgil and his use of Virgil to proclaim the truths of the Trinity and Christianity, it would be more appropriate for us to say that Augustine baptized Virgil and gave Virgil a new life that would continue on for 1,500 years. Virgil's themes from Augustine's eyes are signs pointing to the revelation of love itself. Here in Virgil, we find the enduring and eternal power of love and how it binds all things together, and how only in this union through love the desires of the human heart can be satiated. Virgil pointed us to that reality, as close as that reality can get without the revelation of Christ. The desire to love and the desire to be in union with another, as Dante slyly and wittily embeds, into his Christian epic, is the driving force of salvation. Love, when it has complete hold of the human heart, when it has conquered the soul, cannot help but lead it to the good things the heavens hold. Humans desire love, and of course God desires love from humans. In Christianity, the two desiring flames of eros, of love, of amor, come together in union, which is then superseded by compassion, kindness, and tenderness, agape, the love that emerges when two are brought together as one. So perhaps it is unsurprising that Christian readers of Virgil saw that same spirit in his poetry. We ourselves, as readers, coming into relationship with Virgil and Virgil's characters, end up having pity and compassion on them. Perhaps the finest realization of how that desire for love produces compassion, mercy, and forgiveness. We cannot help but be drawn into the beauty of the love that moved Virgil's heart and governed his poetry. T.S. Eliot remarked that the loss of the classics, Greek and Latin, would spell the demise of the whole of Western civilization, which was built on the heart of love, giving way to compassion, found in the classics, and cemented and consummated through Christianity. Per the ironies of history, it is ironic that Virgil is now far closer to the Christian truth than many professed Christians are today. But that also means that in reading Virgil, just as the church fathers did 2 millennia ago, we may once again see the beauty and truth of the signs and the things that the signs point to in Virgil's writing, which can lead us back to the good, the true, and the beautiful. Thus, we must never forget how Virgil was appropriated by Christianity. So unto your great honors, child, Virgil says, the time is near. Dear child of the gods, great increment of Jove, see how that vast round world bows down, land and tracts of sea, and depthless skies. See how all creation joys in the time to come. Again, if you did not know that was from the pen of Virgil and thought it was from the biblical Psalms, you would be kind of right, because the Christians reading Virgil, particularly that poem, always transformed it and renegotiated it as a prophecy of the love that came in Christ. May Beatrice indeed sing praises of Virgil, for Virgil's writings and his poetry, his love poetry in particular, capture the signs of the human spirit and condition. In the melancholic world of antiquity, Virgil stood out as a light in the darkness. But it was necessary to capture Virgil's light, the signs of light, and direct them to the greater light that Virgil was trying to point to. Perhaps the time is coming again when Virgil will be read as a bright light in the darkness, and we will all be inspired to see the good, the true, and the beautiful captured and contained in the wondrous poetry of Virgil. For in Virgil's poetry, the realities of beauty, love, and even theology have always been understood. Our world cries out like Gallus, let us not ignore the cries of our soul, our yearning for love, to find it, to be captured by it, and surrender ourselves to it. For that is Virgil's ultimate message for us as human beings. The encounter with love is intoxicating, for love truly does conquer all things, and all we need to do to let love into our life is to yield to love itself.